This is AnvilHammerHatchet Easter egg number 1. In celebration of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ and his resurrection to absolve us for our sins.
Right. Easter.
Oh wait, we weren't going to talk about. We don't do religion here, so I'll tap out of that real quick and just say chocolate bunnies and painted eggs. So this is a little Easter egg. We weren't done. We weren't quite finished. So
no, we're not done.
We're going to keep on keeping on.
We're going to go
and talk some more. We did take a little break.
So technically episode 5 we just recorded.
So this would be 5.1.
This is 5.1, and
the update with patches, security issues fixed.
Exactly. I don't know what we're going to talk about. But
anybody who gets those OS security issues or Microsoft security patches or whatever, this is the podcast.
Yeah, and by the way,
if
you have a PlayStation 4 and you get the update notification,
you ran into a shitty thing about that over the weekend, huh?
Don't fucking update your fucking PlayStation.
You said you were having
everything up.
You said you were having issues with that, and then as I was like sort of meandering around the internet that day, I noticed that they had a big patch update or whatever, which totally explained why you were sort of locked out. It was Friday night too, right?
Yeah. So
what a shitty time to do a thing like that when basically people who've been working all week and waiting to play. Gamers wait. If they don't have time, they wait to play all weekend, and on a Friday night,
it was a bad update.
Get the fuck out of here! You don't do that.
Yeah, it was aggravating, and I went online and I Googled to see what to do, and I took all the steps, with restarting, putting my PlayStation in safe mode, and
the whole
restoring the defaults and all that kind of stuff.
That can end up fucking you up because you can end up resetting your device to factory default, and it turns out that it was
not compatible for some reason or whatever,
or that they were doing an update, and basically all you were able to do is just wait for 30 hours or whatever. Because some of those updates take forever.
Luckily, I was able to.
Is the PS4 as big as you have a PS4? I have a PS3. Is it as bad on the PS4 as PS3, where every time you throw a game in, as soon as you load it up, it tells you that updates are available. So you have
it does.
You have to, no matter, you can't play on the fly. No, you basically have to preemptively assume that if you stick a disc in, it's going to be a good half hour, 40 minutes before you're able to actually play.
On this one, you can skip it. You can say, later, I'll do it later or whatever.
But at some point, you're going to have to wait.
But at some point, and so the thing with the updates is I don't know, this particular patch that they uploaded or whatever
was a major one.
Yeah, it was a bad one. So
and took hours.
I called AT&T and they, who was my internet provider, and they walked me through the steps to get it back on track, and it did actually work. I was surprised, she's like, if this doesn't work, you're gonna have to call PlayStation's customer service.
You're gonna have to call Sony.
It out. But it did work, and I had to go online and do some shit, but I ultimately got it to work.
And the reality was that it probably, in the time it took you to sit on the phone with customer service, the update had just finally installed.
Yeah.
And you probably would have accomplished just as much as sitting there with a thumb inserted firmly in your ass and waiting.
Yeah.
So the Sony, I love your products. I love your games. That some of the PlayStation games that are Sony exclusives, like The Last of Us, for example, are amazing. They're great. But as far as your tech support and your updates, Sony, figure it out. Come on, man. It's how
Let
far.
Him know.
How
Let
far?
Him know,
how,
Chris.
Everybody, if you're listening to this, email Sony and tell them thumbs, ass, remove, please.
You're a major corporation.
We're living
handle this.
We're in the future at this point. Knock it off.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
Exactly.
And quit having your emails hacked and leaked, because Hollywood is becoming gradually more and more embarrassed based on the emails.
I don't know. I come home and I have a cocktail and I sit on the couch once the kids are in bed and I play video games or I watch movies. That's one of the two things that I do. So,
and the facilitator in both those things in a lot of people's lives is the PS4.
Indeed.
So you know, if even if okay, games got to update, not I don't feel like worrying about that. Well, if if your video systems, your video streaming apps aren't working as well,
Right.
well, now you're just sort of left to your own devices, which could be maybe that's a good thing.
I have the Apple TV too, so I can always like pick something on my phone.
You do have options
and put it right up to the TV.
Right. So I'm not an iOS guy. I'm an Android guy, and so but I do have a comparable solution, which is the Chromecast, and I really think that was probably one of the best purchases I've made in the last couple of years. It's really inexpensive. It's like $35, and you plug it into the HDMI port on your TV. You can sling anything from your phone, from your tablet to the Chromecast, and it's not actually streaming from your device. It's firing up internal apps in the Chromecast, and your devices then sort of operate more as a remote control.
Right.
So I can fire up, say, Netflix, for example, on the Chromecast. I can control the playback from my phone or my tablet, but I can still use both those devices independendely. So I can still,
isn't that crazy?
I can still check my Instagram to see if anybody's liked anything on AnvilHammerHatchet on Instagram, or at AHHPod on Twitter, or shameless plug. AnvilHammerHatchet.com. People, follow us on our social media. It's at the top of the page. Just go there. It's simple. You can even go to our YouTube page where you can stream all of our episodes from AnvilHammerHatchet.com.
And the reason that we're able to do that stupefies me to this day. Like when we were coming up in the 70s and 80s. Technology.
Yeah, my smartphone in the 70s was not nearly as cool as the one I have now.
It wasn't as smart.
Yeah, no.
Not even close. Your smartphone was a dumb phone.
My smartphone was stuck to the wall.
Indeed.
At that point. I couldn't even walk around the house. I had to sit in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Dude,
you lean up against the wall and cross your legs and have a long conversation.
I have very vivid memories of my first real girlfriend calling me when I was in like whatever grade, and the phone was still attached by the little windy pigtail cord.
Curly cord.
Yeah, and having to sit in the kitchen and talk to her and hope that my parents didn't come in to hear whatever embarrassing bullshit we were talking about, because
there was no
private. Go away, I'm on the phone.
You couldn't email her and like message her or text her
or sext her
or anything
creepy
like that.
That's which is probably going on right now, and thank God we didn't have the option for that at the time.
Oh no,
you know what I mean? That's the creepy, weird shit I would have been getting up to at that point in
but
time.
Think about it,
smartphone is
if we had that
so
shit
gross.
Available to us at that time,
it would have been disgusting.
Absolutely.
We would have looked back on that now and like
I'm a pig
and ran to the bathroom to vomit.
I'm such a disgusting human being.
Because quite frankly, teenagers are creeps. Yeah,
well, you're just wanting to fuck all the time. That's all you want to do.
Just with all those you don't know what you want to do.
You just want to fuck. That's what you want to do.
Until I don't know. I feel like that's such a confusing age that you have all these
horrible.
You have all these
horrible
urges and necessities, but you also have all these insecurities.
You don't know who you are.
Right. Yeah. So it's such a confusing time. Being a teenager is horrible. I wish the energy and the inspiration and motivation that is afforded to teenagers could be hoisted upon people in our age bracket who would know what to actually do with it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Being a teenager is a vortex where you have all this potential in zero direction.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
No, it's like being dropped into a swimming pool and not knowing how to swim,
And the pro side of that is that you have to sort of figure out you have to learn to swim. So you have to really carve your personality.
And at first you start doggy paddling. And you're like, okay, I can doggy paddle now. So I'm doing this. I've learned this. And then a breaststroke. Okay, I can do the breaststroke now. Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
And if you're active enough and good enough, you find yourself at the end of your teenage years being Michael Phelps.
Right.
You know, and you've got gold medals, and you're a fully fledged,
And then high school,
fully formed human being.
And then high school ends, and you have to start all over
again. Right.
Because life is nothing like high school.
Life never finishes. Yeah. So, you know, that I think is that turmoil that being a young person, especially in a tumultuous generation like the 80s were, and like right now, much like right now, sort of forces you to mold and forge your personality into something very cohesive. You become you in a very solidified way in situations like that. And when I've referred back to it a few times, but in conversations I've had with my brother recently, we were discussing how we both kind of feel like that is due for a resurgence. That sort of, not the whining and crying and foot stamping that we see kind of going on right now about the way things are, but the legitimate digging in, doing work, and making your voice heard. That's due for a comeback. It's been almost 20 years since we've had a real middle finger in the air.
If I've seen anything that I, as far as we're talking about that, like everything runs in cycles.
Life is very cyclical.
You know, so
it is amazing to me how 80s the situation is right now in modern life. You know what I mean? The global threat, the conservative president.
We've seen it. It's happened before.
Yeah, been there, done that. Yeah. And you know, I feel bad
Which
for
is
the
weird
people.
to say.
The younger generation doesn't realize that we've all been through this before.
Yeah, and think about this.
And we survived it. We're fine.
When our parents were our age, they were probably saying the same exact fucking thing.
Yeah.
You know, we've seen this shit before. We you know what I mean? It is completely cyclical, like you say.
And it's not just on a social thing or a political thing. I mean, if you dive deep into a topic that this show is kind of a little bit more about, is music, it's very much the same. When the Beatles when they first got their record deal and got the rights to their record sales, which at the time amounted to singles and 45s, record companies didn't give a shit about those sales. They were essentially commercials for the shows. You know, so they were giveaways. They were free. As if somebody decided to spend 45 cents on a single, great. You can have that little 45 cents. And then Beatlemania happened, and it became an obsession, like comic book collectors now, where, you know, kids had to have every Beatles single that came out, and they were pumping them out like chiclets. You know, they were putting single after.
Do you remember when they burned them all?
To the point where they had to put them all out on an quote unquote LP, long play record, because there were so many singles that it was cheaper, more advantageous for the record company to
make an album,
to press them all on one big piece of wax.
Yep.
And their contract stated that they got all that money. And so they kept putting out records, LPs, and those kept selling. And the record companies had the rights to the touring and to the merchandise, but not to the albums. And eventually the touring got so out of hand that nobody could, I mean, the screaming and yelling was so out of control that nobody could hear the live performance. And the Beatles decided to stop performing live, which was a real big boot up the ass of the record company, because everything they had signed up for was not existent anymore. And the one thing that they were pumping out, which was recorded albums, the Beatles were getting all the money for.
Yeah, that was a smart play.
It set a new paradigm, man. It really did, and it was one that people followed for years. And then there were guys who had so many songs.
Do you remember what was the first Beatles song that you remember hearing?
Remember, or like actual memory?
The first memory of the Beatles that you had.
100% honest, the first memory I have of that era is driving with my father in his Mustang Cobra, and it wasn't a Beatles song. It was Band on the Run.
Oh,
I was sitting in the passenger
Paul
seat.
McCartney
I was tiny, a little kid, sitting with my absentee father who was rarely around. And in that situation, everything is important. Everything, when you're finally around your dad, everything is heightened.
Right.
Everything really stands out.
Indeed.
And I remember he had the radio blasting, and I heard Deacon Blues by Steely Dan, which is, obviously made an impression because to this day I'm a huge Steely Dan fan. And I remember hearing Band on the Run, which is Paul McCartney. It's Paul McCartney and Wings. It's not a Beatles song per se, but it left an impression. And I still like Wings. I really like Paul McCartney and Wings. I respect their talent. I like the songs. There was a long period of time where I kind of was dismissive of the Beatles as pop music. And even through that period, I still appreciated Paul McCartney and Wings.
So here's my thing on that is the very first song that I heard from the Beatles was Being for the Benefit of Mr. Kite off of Sgt. Pepper's. And because it was so melodically different from anything that I'd ever heard.
Which was response to... Sgt. Pepper's was a response to what?
I don't know what.
Pet Sounds.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, George Martin has definitively said that when Pet Sounds came out, the Beatles
we have to do a Pet Sounds.
Yeah, they literally were like, we need to get on our game. This is the next thing.
Yeah.
And we haven't done that yet, and we're the new guys who do new things, so we have to do that. If you listen to Back in the USSR, it absolutely sounds like a Beach Boys song.
Right. No.
With the harmonies and the sort of the surf sound and the piano.
They started with Elvis, right? They were doing Elvis Presley covers for a long time. And Chuck Berry.
Just blues covers in
blues,
general. The Rolling Stones did blues. Their first album was mostly blues covers. And
Chuck Berry, again, a big influence on them as well.
It's kind of funny. I would actually like to save this topic for a full podcast because I feel like it's way more of a long form topic than we can go into right now. But the Led Zeppelin as plagiarists has been a thing for years, with them getting sued by original blues artists and not giving credit and yada, yada, yada. They did a lot of blues covers when they first formed as a band. Jimmy Page had a career history in the studio. He knew how licensing worked. He knew how promotions worked. He knew how royalties worked. And he saw that there were these blues standards that nobody had copyright royalties for. Nobody had publishing rights for. So as they were recording them, since it was a completely open thing, he registered those songs under his name, under Bonham's name, under Robert Plant's name, because nobody else had, and have, decades later been consequently sued for stealing from artists, recording from artists. Other bands had been doing that for years at that point. The one insight he had was the inside view of somebody who had been in the recording industry.
Yeah.
So he saw an open territory and stamped his name on it. Does that make him a bad guy or a savvy guy? But I think that's
definitely subjective.
Yeah, and I think that's a topic that we can't cover in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's very open to interpretation. But
sure.
It's definitely real, and the things that he's sort of been accused of artistically, maybe not legally, are the same type of things that the artists that predated him were doing as well. The Beatles did blues covers. Clapton did, John Mayall and the Blues Breakers did blues covers.
Going back to Robert Johnson.
Stones. Yeah.
Going back to Robert Johnson and Eric Clapton. Like that whole Crossroads deal. I mean, that's Robert Johnson.
Yeah, Little Red Rooster.
Yeah.
That was
And
that's one of the first Stones big songs, and that's not their song.
right.
And
Also J.J. Cale, like Eric Clapton, like J.J. Cale was way lesser known of like musician, but Eric Clapton took like 3 or 4 of his songs and made them hits, like Cocaine,
right,
and After Midnight, and
Ghost Rider. So is Eric Clapton as shitty of an artist as Katy Perry, since somebody else wrote his song?
Exactly. That's a good point.
Go back to the last episode we recorded if you want that to make any sense. But yeah, the people write for each other, man. It's not that big of a deal, and for some reason it's super frowned upon now.
Well, it's because
but it's
that holier than thou, like, oh, I'm a fucking real artist shit. You know what I mean? And honestly, if you break it down, like, we all fucking thieve from the good artists or even the bad artists, because sometimes the bad artists have good shit, but it's just not consistent enough. You know what I mean?
The example I brought up when I was talking in, I guess this would be the episode before the last episode now that we're in Easter egg. But the example I came up with was Turn the Page. You know what I mean?
No. What do you mean?
Is Bob Seger Metallica's Ghost Rider?
No.
Right. But they covered it, and they did it better. So does that make their song suck? Because they didn't write it.
Right. No, good point.
Right.
Good point.
Is all of Sabbath's catalog shit? Because Ozzy was singing, but he didn't write it. It was Geezer.
Right.
So does that make it suck?
Right.
No, absolutely fucking not. So you know what I'm saying? Like, where you position the chess pieces, whether you're okay, if somebody from Tin Pan Alley wrote a song and somebody else did their version of that song, they didn't write it, so they're not the artist. Okay, well, what if the guy who wrote it is sitting behind him playing piano? Does that make it valid? Because Geezer was back there playing bass.
Right.
So if that does it not make it, if it doesn't make it valid, what does?
Again, it's all very subjective. You can look at it however you want to look at it.
You know what? It's art, and there's a bazillion ways to do art, and I can't think of a less valid.
I tell you, I've taken
or position than art critic.
I have taken songs from friends of mine who have written songs that were amazing fucking songs that they didn't want to play or whatever. Like, they didn't care about it, and I've taken them and I've played them with bands, and I respect somebody else's idea of a music interpretation.
If you want to refer back to last episode, we were talking about the Wrecking Crew documentary, and the main bass player in the Wrecking Crew was this woman named Carol Kay, who is amazing. And I know this is super creepy because she's an older lady. She's probably a grandmother now.
Get the fuck out of here.
Dude,
you're not going to tell you want to sleep with her.
No. But seeing older photos of her and stuff, I was just like, God, she's hot because of her talent and her intellect. And her ability.
And she does have something that is fucking cool as shit. You're like, oh my God. You play the bass I wish I could play the bass.
When I saw the photos of her when she was younger, it really reminded me of Sean Schultz from White Zombie.
Oh, yeah.
Who I used to have a huge crush on.
Well, she was hot.
And powerful and demonstrative and energetic. Yeah. There's something about a female bass player and
a female musician in general.
But the bass player is such a part of the foundation that it takes a lot of courage and determination and inspiration to decide to be a bass player. So to see a woman who's willing to step up to that plate and swing and hit it out of the park is amazing. And if you want to take that as being detrimental, it's the opposite.
It's instrumental.
Yeah, exactly. I'm impressed and infatuated with women who are willing and able to step up to that point and encourage it and want to see it every day. Ladies, all of you, do that. Step up to the plate. But Sean was my crush in the 90s. And that was Rob Zombie's lady at the time.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. They were college sweethearts.
Was that the demise of White Zombie because of those two?
Don't know 100%, but I think it had something to do with it.
I'm sure.
I do think it had something to do with it.
So there was a Yoko Ono moment there.
That more of a, what was the Paul McCartney's, not Heather Mills, the other one. Linda. Yeah, I think it was more of a Linda McCartney type thing where, I mean, I don't think the chick broke up the band, but I think the guy and the girl breaking up definitely led to a parting of ways. And, you know, you kick one leg out from the chair and tripods only work for so long. So, yeah. But, you know, Sean was beautiful and intriguing and amazing.
She wrote a book. Did you read the book?
No.
I really wanted to read it.
I did not know it existed, and I'm going to read it now, or at least listen to the audiobook now that, thank you. I know it exists.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, that's, to me, she was her and Kim Gordon, who is Sonic Youth, who is also a female bass player. I don't know. I got to think for girl bass players, dude. I really do. Maybe is that creepy?
No, that's hot.
Okay, good. Because I always kind of wondered, but man, girls who play bass,
musicians are hot. I'm into that.
Ladies, if you want to impress me, pick up the bass guitar. Apparently,
yeah, or just be into music.
Yeah, but the two of them were, you know, throughout the '90s were big influences, I guess. You know, our draws. They were big draws.
Did you ever listen to Slater Kinney?
I have. And speaking of, I can't think of her name right now, but the chick from Slater Kinney who works with Fred Armisen at Portlandia.
Yes. Yeah.
Is brilliant. I love her.
She's great.
And I love Portlandia. That show is so fucking funny. But the one issue I have with it is it should really be called Santa Cruzia, because Santa Cruz was Portland long before Portland was.
Yeah, no, I agree that it's the same fucking world, absolutely, and I think that's why it's funny.
That's why I can relate to it. I mean, I've spent very little time in Portland. It's more of a driving through thing. But when I've watched Portlandia, I don't see Portland. I see Santa Cruz left and right, and it's from the early '80s.
Yeah, the cyclist people, with the big
piercing.
Yeah, with the bookstore people that are like
shop. Right. The mayor who's competing with other hip cities.
Right.
It's a brilliant.
Yeah.
So, you know, we talk about music, we talk about movies, but we also do talk about TV, and a television show that I can highly recommend, and there's several seasons of it, is Portlandia. It's so fucking funny. And Fred Armisen really nailed.
Fred Armisen from Saturday Night Live.
Right, yeah. And Carrie
Brownstein
from Slater Kinney is his comedy partner. I'm so glad we remembered who she was.
I am too.
She's so great. She's hilarious.
No, she is.
And her character on Portlandia, they are so poignant.
Have you seen
spot on?
Have you seen the one where she plays like a macho biker guy?
Right, and he plays his or her like Latina girlfriend.
Right.
Yeah, that's a reoccurring character trope where they pitch down her voice and she's got the mustache and the mullet, and the wife beater t-shirt.
Yeah. That's so funny.
Politically incorrect side note. I used to call the black tank tops that I would wear Ike's.
Why is that?
Ike Turner. It's a black wife beater.
Oh, that's perfect.
I will accept all of your hate mail at AnvilHammerHatchet.gmail.com. It was a dumb joke from a long time ago. Very insensitive, and I apologize.
Oh, get the fuck out of here.
But this is...
it was great!
But we're real here, and that was real. I literally did used to call my shirts Ike's.
That's awesome.
So, but I love Tina Turner. Hey, dude, Thunderdome.
We don't need another
Two men enter, one man leaves. Two men enter, one man leaves.
Yeah,
Beyond Thunderdome.
Beyond Thunderdome. That's going back a little bit.
Proud Mary. Dude, Tina Turner, she's amazing.
She had legs for days, man.
Yeah, beautiful woman. Like, but dude, treads, man, lasted
for sure.
I mean, she was gorgeous well into the 80s, well into the 90s. I don't know I haven't heard a whole lot from Tina Turner in the last few years. I don't know what's going on with her, but the last time I saw
shit now.
Maybe so, but the last time I saw her, she was quote unquote old as shit and looked fantastic.
Yeah.
You know, that there's.
Would you sleep with an older woman like that?
I mean, it depends on the woman. Have you seen Marsha Brady lately?
No.
What's her name?
Marsha.
Maureen McCullough or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, she's definitely older than me and looks gorgeous. She's beautiful.
Well, we're older ourselves.
Right. So, you know, when we talk older, we're talking about women in their
60s.
late 50s, early 60s.
Yeah.
But, God, I really want to say
grandma age.
I really want to say it's Maureen McCullough.
I don't know her name.
But, she's...
To me,
I think
on
she
the
has a
Brady
book.
Bunch, it was Cindy that I always liked. I always thought Cindy was
God, you're a creep.
the little
That's-
girl. The little one. I was a
Yuck.
kid. Come damn.
Gross.
Come on. Oh, fuck.
You weren't that young, creeper. Yeah, 14. That's she's 8. It's
Well, she was kind of cute.
no, I was
You liked Peter.
I was about to say it could have been worse. Cindy's one thing; it could have been worse. You could have liked Bobby. No, but I was a I liked it. I thought Marsha Brady was attracactive. Sure.
Yeah, is she the one that had the long?
She was the older sister.
She was the oldest one.
Yeah. The one who, Mr. Frank Zappa, Davy Jones, Monkey's memory. You probably remember the episode where Davy Jones was
Davy
on
Jones
the,
was on the
right.
radio.
Well, so Marsha was the older sister who had the crush on Davy
Right.
Jones. She was very pretty when she was little, and she was, or rather, she still is gorgeous. She's beautiful,
Oh,
dude.
Marsha, if you're single, you should.
She is unfortunately married.
Oh, that's
Happily
too bad.
married, so good for her. But yeah,
Oh,
she's a gorgeous lady. She
Oh,
really
you're
is.
missing out, Marsha.
It really does show that like age has so much little to do with it, other than like how well you take care of yourself.
You know what's
and what
funny?
you do.
Speaking of that, is my mom is almost 70 years old,
Wow.
and she does not look 70. She looks like she's in her 50s. You know what I mean? She's aged so well. Of course, she eats yogurt every day and everything. But I don't know. I hope that genetic
Well,
is passed down. That
supposedly scientists say that genetically speaking, the person who's going to live to be 200 years old is on the planet right now. You know what, with healthcare, diet, genetic engineering, the whole being able to do gene splicing and all that stuff. That
did you hear that they combined a human and a pig?
right, but
Isn't that an orc?
they didn't.
Isn't that a fucking orc? Isn't that a fucking orc? A human and a pig. That's an orc, right? Am I wrong about that?
Back off, Fox News.
They made an orc.
Back off, Fox News.
Is it that bad? Is it?
You're
okay.
just reading the headline,
I'm
but
taking it too far.
you're just put your hand over your heart because you are being an American.
Okay. Sorry,
America. You're reading the headline and not the story.
All right.
They have figured out a way to breed or to gestate organs, pig organs, and this is a cloning thing, to where they can clone organs that would be compatible with humans that
Okay.
would then be...
Well, that makes more sense.
those
Like
thi-
trying to make a human pig person.
Right. It's more like making like gestating a human heart within a pig, so that if you need a heart transplant, then
You have a.
you could endure the transplant without having to have anti-rejective drugs for the rest of your life.
Right.
So yeah, it's a little less horrific and J.R.R. Tolkien than
That's
what
too
you're
bad
saying.
because I was really going for the human pig thing.
Yeah, no, I'm cool with orcs just because maybe we can finally start having sword fights like into the Badlands.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm pretty sure.
Cool. I'd be okay with having orcs in life,
Yeah,
in general.
if we can at least have battles with them.
Let's just have an orc. Like,
Yeah, let's have battles.
I'm going to go kill some fucking orcs. Yeah, what are you doing tonight, honey? I'm going to orcs. I'm going orc hunting.
Where is my precious?
Oh, that was
Come
good.
to me.
That was pretty good.
All right, so yeah, we've actually, this was just a little sidebar. We knew it was gonna probably get a little weird and fun. Basically, what this was a recorded break. If you guys ever want to know what it sounds like when we're on break, that's been the last 36 minutes. So yeah,
has that been 36 minutes already?
About that, yeah. Much like the breaks, this has gone by really fast too.
No doubt.
So yeah, we probably got to sign out. It's getting later by the minute. Go figure, fucking time. God damn it! If we can fix that thing. I'm so over time, dude.
Fuck time.
Things just keep getting older
Fuck time.
and older,
Fuck
and now I just keep staying the same age. So yeah, this is just a little sidebar. Check back next week. We're gonna have an actual real podcast. I don't know when this is gonna go up. You know what? It's gonna go up whenever the fuck I feel like putting it up. So, if you're out there listening, ladies and gentlemen, go fuck yourself.
Sayonara.
Bring all the joy and the pain. Bring all the dark, cold, bloody rain. Yeah. Moving like a shark.